very important. I'm just a regular dude who just walk around just like everybody else. Alright? But I'm so thankful to Sister Massey and Redemption for giving me the opportunity to share my story. A lot of people like to hear about it. People ask me where you from all the time, and how'd you get here? And sometimes when I tell people, they don't believe it. They say, there's no way. There's no way you made it this far. There's no way that's true. So, managed to put this together a couple of days ago. I can sit here and talk your head off, but make sure everyone get out. You guys can see me. I'm sorry. Just trying to make sure, because a lot of things I'm going to be talking about, I want to be able to put a name to the face so that you can know exactly what transpired. Okay, here we go. I'll just put this guy down here. He's good. I was going to try to get it with one hand. I think it's heavy. All right. At work, it was good.
No talking unless you're translating to somebody. Unless you're translating, there should be no.
Okay. She said, most people call me Coach James around here. Real name is James Jordan. A lot of people say, how do you name James Jordan if you're from Africa? That's part of the story. All right? So don't think I changed my name when I got to the airport. I promise you, I've been always James Jordan. All right? My lovely wife, Bill Jordan, never here at Redemption. Been a strong support. So for those of you who are looking for a partner, make sure you find a strong supporting partner. Because in life, you need someone to fall on the face and go right. So make sure you find the right people to fall on. Because if you don't, you're going to be falling for a long time. Every time I try to fall, I fall right on her. She picks me back up and sets me back on my feet. So. Now I'm blessed with my firstborn, Sydney Jordan. Sydney was the first. Sydney is a very smart kid, very talented. She took a little bit of my talented juices, as you said. She squeezed a little bit from me. So she's very artistic. She can sing. She never got that from me. So she's a very good singer. Brendan, okay, you guys know Brendan? Yeah, Brendan, again, talented, loves sports, loves basketball, loves gaming sometimes. And we have Skylar. Skylar wants to be everything. She loves gymnastics, she loves horses. We can't afford it. So the closest she can get to a horse is YouTube. We can't afford it. But anyway, my story started way back in Liberia, where I was born and raised. I'm just trying to explain to those who don't know where Liberia is, we do it this way, so everyone can see. All right, Liberia, this is the map of Africa. Liberia is a little country right there, so little that if you go like that, you don't miss it. All right, and if you blow it up, this is what it looks like, Liberia. And I was born in a country and raised by my family, my mom and my dad. My mom never went to school. She was not educated. She never stepped a foot in school any day. But she was so smart. She was able to run her own business, taught herself how to count, taught herself everything. So she would go to the market, sell her own stuff, give change without ever stepping foot in school. So she was a very strong working woman. And my dad, he went to school, went to college, got his degree, started his own business. He actually had two businesses. We had two corner stores, just at Stewart's, believe it or not. So we were more comfortable. We were not rich, but life was more comfortable than the average Liberian because my dad worked so hard, and that was one thing, that work hard, put food on the table, make life comfortable for us. And he was very generous with his business. We had a lot of customers. I remember growing up, we had a lot of customers. People used to come to the store to buy and sell, and some people would come to take out loans. When they were in need, they wanted to build a house, they wanted to send their kids to school, and they didn't have money, and they would come to my dad, and he would give them money, and then when they get paid, they would pay back the interest. So that was like a huge part of it. Very rarely did he turn people down. Very rarely did he turn people down. So, The one thing I was gonna say about that part is, never forget the people you meet on your way up the ladder. Anytime you're climbing up the ladder in life, you're moving up, don't forget the people that you meet on your way up the ladder, because they will be the same people that you meet on your way down. And depending on how you treat those people on your way up, that's how they're gonna treat you on your way down. And that's probably one of the reasons why I'm standing here today. All right, so when I was born, he was the president of Liberia. They call him William Tover. He was actually a cousin of my dad, first cousin of my dad. So he was president. He's what do you call it? American Liberian. Did like the free slaves during the slave time. The free slaves who came back, who were sent back to Africa, they didn't have no traditional Liberian roots, so he just came from America and they sent him back to Liberia. So he was the president. Life was good, and then a couple years down into his presidency, he got executed. He got assassinated by this guy right here, called Samuel Doe. He was a sergeant in the army. Samuel Doe right here, President Tober. Samuel Doe was a sergeant in the army. He was so-called uneducated, never went to college, never went to high school, but he found his way into the army. So the reason for the assassination was that this guy, since he was a miracle Liberian, he was favoring all the rich people, and he was not taking care of the American Liberians. So this guy thought that he was stepping up, so he hired some of the guys from the army. They formed a coup, and at night, snuck into the executive mansion. That's like our White House. He snuck into the executive mansion, and he was assassinated. All his top generals were assassinated. And I remember the morning that he was assassinated, we actually didn't know about it, and we were getting ready for school, and we had a driver, we had a private driver actually, because when we were in the country, we moved to the city, because my dad wanted to put us in the better school, so we actually moved to the city, and we had a driver, so the driver, he would pick us up and take us to school, and then bring us back. So while we were ready, he was running a little late, and then when he finally showed up, he said, "Oh, you guys didn't hear the news?" We said, "What?" My dad said, "What news?" He said, "Turn the radio on." Turned on the radio, and we heard him speaking, Samuel Doe speaking, and he said, Liberia is that now new president in Liberia. There's going to be a change. The old president has been assassinated, and it was just fear like everywhere, because no one expected it to happen. So obviously there was fear in my family also, because he's a miracle Liberian. My dad is a miracle Liberian, and that's where the name James Jordan comes from. So a lot of people say, "You from Africa, how you have the name Jordan?" Because originally my dad's family was like free slaves who went back. So most of them had the name Jordan, like American names and stuff like that. So that's where my name came from. So we were afraid that we were going to be targeted, because they were targeting anybody who was from his group, like all ministers, like government officials were just being executed, like left and right. All right, but and people were snitching on other people. People said, "Oh, if you go to that house right there, they were supporting his government, so go to that house, and the government will show up and kill people." But no one did that to us, again, because my dad was well known and he was very nice to people, so no one said anything about anything. All right. During his presidency, he was he was not recognized by the world leaders. Samuel Doe was not recognized by the world leaders, because they said, "We can't recognize you because you were not elected. You assassinated the president to become president, so we don't really recognize you." So now in order for us to recognize you, you have to be elected. So I said, okay, but then he formed a political party so they could form the election. But during the election, obviously the election was rigged to make him the president. So all the other candidates were harassed, some of them were killed, so he was the only one who was the lead candidate, so he obviously became the president of the country. So when he became president of the country, he started doing the same thing that he accused the other guy of. All the top government jobs, all the benefits started going to his people, and his people are the Crown tribe. They're from here. That's where his people are from. So they were getting all the benefits. The Crown people were getting all the benefits, and he was getting rid of everybody who stood in his way. So he was basically ruling the country with an iron fist. All right, and I'm just trying to give you the backdrop to the war, and how the war started and everything like that. And if I show you this little clip that I have, it says, the Liberian Civil War, we survived by the mercy of God. That's how we made it. The mercy of God. I'm not even lying to you. I'm sitting here today, like, some days I play it in my head, like I question myself, how did I even get here? All right? By the mercy of God, because he was ruling with such iron fist that this guy from the Mono tribe, he's another tribe. Liberia, we have 16 tribes, so we don't have states, we have counties. So all these right here are all counties. Here, they consider to be states, so they're all counties. So he is from the Mono tribe, President Doe is from the Crown tribe, all right? So now he decided to form a group to go and do the same thing to him that this guy did, right? So now, but unfortunately, his group was not successful. They were captured. They were captured and they were severely, brutally massacred, and the bodies were placed on display for people to see it, just to send a message. You come against me, you die, pretty much. Right? So he was ruling the country with such iron fist that the US, other Liberians in America decided to like, well, we have to do something about this guy. So they're trying to find someone to come and get him out of office. All right. So after a couple of years of him being the president, things started to improve a little bit. He was still showing favoritism to his people, but his life was more comfortable. So I was just growing up like a normal kid, playing soccer, going to school. We had tutors after school to help us with our homework, everything like that. We had pretty much everything, right? We got dropped off to school, got picked up, and life was going good after everything. And then, a couple of years down the road, the U.S. hired, and some Liberians hired this guy, Charles Taylor. All right, Charles Taylor right here with the machine gun in his hand. He is another American Liberian. He went to school in the U.S., graduated from the U.S. So he got the support of all most Liberians in America and other countries along with the U.S. to form a group to go back and try to decide to get rid of him. Nobody knew about it. He didn't know about it. We didn't know about it. We just living our lives, just trying to be free, enjoying life. So with all the support that he got, he had 100 men, 100 mercenaries. Mercenaries are like foreign fighters, well-trained foreign fighters. So they came to Africa, they came to Ivory Coast. Ivory Coast is very little, it's right here. This is Liberia, this is Ivory Coast. So he and his men came to Ivory Coast. Again, nobody knew about it. So from that position, they started recruiting other Liberians from the Minor tribe, the Mano and Gill tribe right here. This guy tribe. So Charles Taylor's men started recruiting a lot of people from here because they told him to say, guess what? This guy's in office, he's killing your people, he's not helping you guys out. Come join us, let's get rid of him. So a lot of people started to join. A lot of kids started to join. All right? So they attacked Liberia from Ivory Coast. They attacked Liberia. And it was fast because there was no resistance. There was nobody there to fight. The government was not prepared for it. Normally on the border, it's supposed to be one of your toughest spots, but it was one of our weakest spots because there was nobody there to fight. So they just ran through, killed people. They were just brutal, just killing people left and right. And they were able to advance so fast. They started from here. This is Ivory Coast. This is where they attacked from. And they took over this whole area in like no time, just like that. There was zero resistance. And we got to know about the war because people were escaping from these areas. We moved to Monrovia. This is Monrovia right there, close to the ocean. This is the ocean, the Atlantic Ocean. So they were coming here. So we got to know about the war when people escaped. And then, man, the rebels, did you hear about the rebels? The rebels attacked. They call them the rebels because they don't care. Or guerrillas. They call them guerrillas too because they live in the bush. It's just brutal. So they said, they attacked Neba. They're advancing and they're killing people. And at the time they told us, but we didn't really take it seriously because everyone is like, oh, rebels don't come to the city. Rebels just, they put pressure on the government, but they don't really take over the country. So that's what people told us. So we would just be like, oh yeah, they're not gonna come to the city. They never come to the city, they just put pressure. But that was not the case. They had a mission. Like he had a mission and they were just flying. So all here had natural resources, like gold, diamond, everything. So as they captured these areas so fast, they started to dig up the gold, the diamond, and started selling it to other countries for weapons. That's how he was getting all his weapons. All right. So that's why if you heard of a blood diamond, that's what it is. That they were literally grabbing the poor people and forcing them to go and dig out gold and diamond. If you don't, you get killed. If you do, you still get killed. All right. So either way, you're gonna get killed depending on who you come across. All right. So they grew so fast. There was a dispute. Remember, anytime there's wealth, there's greed. So they got greedy. He was his general, that's Prince Johnson, he was the general for Charles Taylor. They had a dispute. So Prince Johnson said, okay, I'm gonna split up, I'm gonna take my own man. So now they split up. So the name of the group was the National Patriotic Front, the NPFL. He took his group, they became the Independent National Patriotic Front. So now we had, instead of one rebel group, we had two rebel groups now coming in. So Prince Johnson's men came from, they captured this side. Charles Taylor men captured all this side. And they're all heading where? Towards Monrovia. That's where we live. All right? And along the way, they started recruiting just kids. Like, you see right here, like, I call it the faces of death. The picture I'm going to show you, faces of death, over 250,000 people killed in the war. And these are some of the faces that you can see. And along the way, just recruiting kids, like your school age, little kids as little as Judah, all right? Little kids, just giving them machine guns, and they just giving them drugs. Cocaine, like, was one of the biggest drugs that they gave them. And the reason is because they pumped them up with drugs so much, like, one of the kids said, they gave you so much drugs, like, if they gave you a gun, they say, shoot your own mom. You don't even say, why? You just shoot, because you're not thinking in your right mind. So imagine coming across people who have nothing to lose. They literally had nothing to lose. And some of them were forced to join, some of them volunteers, some of them were forced to join. And they'll come to your house, sometimes they'll kill your whole family, and you're the only one left. And then they turn a gun to you. So what you gonna do? You gonna join us or you gonna die? It's an easy choice. I'll join you or you get killed. So life, there was no value to life at all. Life was like no value at all. And you can see from this picture, see on the wall, it says ready to kill. And that's pretty much what it was, ready to kill. Like they will kill you for the dumbest, they will kill you for a pair of shoes. All right? So these are the guys who were heading towards us. And we kept hearing about it, but again, we were not, there was a little bit of fear, but rebels don't attack the city. That's the main thing we were going by, you know. So gradually they started advancing and advancing and advancing to the point where they moved so fast, we started hearing just little bombs in the distance. And people were like, what is that? They said, oh, that's fighting, like in the distance. So comfort started to turn to fear, started to turn to panic, because you could actually, for the first time, that you hear little tuts in the distance, almost like being here, and they're dropping bombs in Schenectady. That's how it was, you know. And they started getting, started turning to boom, boom, gradually. So they started advancing, all right? Until, I remember one, I think it was a Saturday or something that we were at home. When we moved from the country to Monrovia, we moved close to the airport. So you could literally stand from my house and see the terminal. That's how close we were to the airport. And during war, that's one of the first places that they try to capture is the airport. So once you capture the airport, you control who comes in and you control who leaves. And that's what his groups were heading straight for the airport. All right? So I remember the first attack on the airport, it was just cool little afternoon, and we just heard the loudest bang ever. Like they dropped a missile on the airport, like, boom! And everybody said, what is that? What is that? So we went looking, we see a thick cloud of smoke coming from the terminal. And then followed by another one again, boom, again. And that's when it really hit, and we see people running with the babies in the back, the food, and they're like, the rebels are coming. So it was the first time we actually heard and saw what they were all about. You know? So we quickly packed ourselves, my parents were like, we gotta get out of here. We packed ourselves, and my mom had just got done cooking, and we actually just got done eating, and she was feeding my little sister. She had a little bowl of rice feeding my little sister. And we all just packed whatever we had to take, and we ran on foot about 15 miles away. But on the way, we saw the government soldiers. They were just as guilty as his soldiers. They were just as bad as the rebels. So we saw the government soldiers along the way, and this time we said, where you guys going? Heavily armed, like machine gun, where you guys going? And then we said, oh, the rebels attacked. We're running away, we're trying to, and the guy was like, you guys have any food? And my mom was like, yeah, I have a little bit of food for my daughter. And he snatched the food out of her hand, and he ate it. And he said, okay, you guys go. And then my dad was looking, and then he was like, you want the food? So my dad said, no, we're good. And then we moved back ourselves, and then we went about 15 miles away. We spent the night, and you can still hear the intensity of the bombing just taking place in the distance. And a couple of days later, things cooled down, and they told us, oh, the army was able to push the rebels back so we can go back home. So it was relief. So we went back home, and it was just deserted, quiet, like a ghost town. see nobody. You couldn't even see dogs in the street. Even the dogs were not safe. So we thought it was safe, but in that same day, the rebels mounted a heavier attack. This time we actually started hearing machine guns. The first attack we just heard bombs, but when you hear the machine gun, that means that they're really, really close. So we started hearing the AK-47. This right here. That was their favorite weapon. Most of the pictures you see all these guys, they all have AKs. And the reason why they like the AK-47 because it's light, it's easy to maintain, it has a longer magazine. So you see the one guy right there, he has 2 magazines trapped. So when you run out of water, you just take the other one and flip it to the other side, and you just keep shooting. And the AK has a very unique sound. Like that's how you can know if it is the rebels or if it is the government. So the AK sounds like almost like popping something. So once you heard that sound, we said, oh, yeah, that's not government. Because the government switch, I had the M16s. M16 sounded like so when you heard a lot of, we knew that was the rebels. So we quickly got in a pickup truck. My dad paid something, we jumped in the pickup truck with everything that we had, and we ran towards the city, to the army barracks. He was the president, he lives in the executive mansion. The barracks were like, probably 15 minutes from the mansion. That's where we were living. That's where we ran to. And on our way to the barracks, you could see dead bodies on the street, like people who, because now the army were targeting anybody from this tribe, because most of the fighters came from this tribe. So they were just killing. And if you come across the army and they ask you what tribe are you from, and you say you're from the Gil or the Manu tribe, you're done. Like there's no second question, you just right there, you just finish. You, your family, whoever they have you, done. And you can see where they killed like almost entire families, so you can see from the skull, you see the big skull, and then a big skull, and a little human that all piled around, so you can tell that the whole family was killed in that spot. So on our way to the barracks, the day before we heard about a massacre in a church. The people from his tribe, living close to the mansion, were trying to escape because they were being harassed by the government. And they ran to a church to seek refuge. And at night, they sent about a truckload of army personnel and they went to the church and they just killed everybody. Not with guns, but with just knives and machetes. So, but nobody was allowed to go in the building in the church to take out the bodies. So the bodies stay there. And you know what happened with bodies, they stay in the place for a long time, they become decomposed. And one of the strongest smells that you can smell is that human smell. So when as we drove by, you could smell it. It was so strong. Like you literally had tears coming out. That's how strong it was. And close to like 50 people piled up in the church, and nobody allowed to go in there and take anybody out. Like we drove past the church. It's just a great, every little feeling. So when we got to the barracks, my uncle lived there with his family, so we were all in the same house. So we now on Senator Doe's side. So Charles Taylor is coming. Prince Johnson is coming. So Charles Taylor is fighting hard to take over the airport. He captured the airport a couple of days after we left. His rebels captured the airport. So Prince Johnson is coming from this side to the seaport, to where the ships go. So now you capture the airport, you capture the seaport, the country is done. And nobody, no food, nothing. So Prince Johnson's men captured the airport, the seaport. So now both groups heading towards us. So while we were at our house, again, things calmed down a little bit. And I remember one Sunday night, we were at home, and then we just heard a loud bang again. Boom! Prince Johnson men captured the seaport. And there's 2 bridges coming from the seaport heading into the city, right? The new bridge and the old bridge coming off. So they came across the bridge again, zero resistance, it just ran into the city, and they attacked the army barracks. And we laid right behind the barracks. And man, that's one of the toughest days. Like, you could actually hear some of these guys, like you could actually hear them outside talking. Like, that's how close they were at our house. They were actually singing. Like they are so vicious that these dudes are actually singing. Like, they're just singing, like, and then you just hear like, yo, down today, yo, down today. No, all night, so we all had to go in the hallway away from the windows, and we were like 14 of us just jammed back in the hallway, just laying flat. Because you could see like the windows just shaking from the machine gun sound. Like you can see, you can hear the bullet hitting the building. Like, all night. And you just hear the guy like, come in, grenade, boom! Like you just, and the whole thing is shit. You can't come out. You come out, you die. So around 4 o'clock in the morning, the fighting ceased, and we were like, okay, try to go to the bathroom. We were lucky to have indoor bathroom. So you try to go to the bathroom, you gotta crawl to go to the bathroom, no lights on or nothing like that, crawl to come back in. So around 6:30, they launched another attack. And they were just shooting. And around 7, I call it the knock on the door. That's when my first time seeing rebels like live and in person. So we in the house, and all of a sudden we hear doom, 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 doom. Everybody come outside, doom, doom, everyone come outside. So we all, and as they're saying that, they're shooting. Come outside, come out. So we all, everybody come in. My uncle said, put your hands up. So we all coming outside. We open the door, and I mean, like some of the sight. Imagine saying, walking out your door, and this is the face that you see, just a face of anger, like with a machine gun that looks like that, and the eyes are so red, you can't even see the eyes, like from the drugs, and they can barely walk. Like some of them are dressed like women, some of them got like wigs, and you just walking like, come on, you go there, like just shooting. So we all, like, me, my family. Like as you come out, you stand, we were almost in a circle. Like me and my family here, another family over there, and another family there, and another family there. So they're all like, is there anybody in the army? And who was in the army? So they look for people who were in the army. Remember, these are pretty trusting men. They look for people who were in the army. If you're in the army, who was in the army? Who was in the army? And then there was an old guy and his wife and his little daughter next door, neighbors to us. So that morning he was dressed nicely, like, white shirt, all white shirt, white short, white pair of sneakers. So he raised his hand and he said, I used to be a musician in that army. He said, oh, you're a musician? Oh, you're going to sing for us today? You're going to sing for us today? So he grabbed and said, did you have a gun? He said, yeah, I had an old gun. So I never used to fight. So what is the gun? He said, the gun is in my house. He said, let's go get it. So he pushed him in the house and he wiped him right there crying. So he went and got the gun and brought it back out. And the guy said, you got to look at me. He said, you trying to shoot it, but there was no round. So he said, do you have a round? So he said, yeah, I got some rounds. So he gave him a round and he put it in and laid on top of his wife's head like that. Bam! And she started screaming because it's so loud. It was just like, bam! And they all started laughing about it. So as they're talking, he knew that they were trying to shoot him. Everybody knew it. So the guy's like, what were you doing in the army? He was like, the general, the rebel captain was asking him, so what were you doing in the army? I was singing. Did you fight? No, I was not a fighter. So as he's asking him, one of his men, well, not him, but one of the men, one of the rebel guys just came from the other side. Like he had an M16. So he came from the other side. He was like, yo, what's going on? And then he said, oh, this guy was in the army. So he said, who, him? And then he tried to push him. So he pushes him, stand over there. And the old guy lunged back. He pushed him again, and he lunged back. He knew if he pushed him, he trying to create distance to shoot him. So when he pushed him, he tried to lunge back the second time, and he slipped and fell. And before he could get up, bah, just like that. Like, and we just like, and like when you face with death like that, like you just stand there like empty person like that. You just, cause you don't know what to do with it. We just stand there, and he just dropped it, and he's making. I didn't know, we heard the sound, but you couldn't see where he was shot. So he's making this sound like, and he's laying on the ground, like his eyes literally turning yellow, like, and he's like, nicely dressed, like he's just, and then the other rebel guy was like, did you hit him? And his guy said, I don't miss. Bam! Like, he shot him right here. Like, the whole thing, like, and the image is still fresh in my head. Like, I've been in for a long time. And from there, I just rolled behind his head, and he just stopped moving. And that's when his wife, she didn't even cry. The daughter didn't even cry, like I said. Like, everyone just standing there, and he just laying there. So the guys like, you, take him, and go dump him, because we were like close to the beach. So they just went and took the body and dumped him on the beach. Like, you go to the beach, they were like the gravesite, like bodies everywhere. So the ladies just sitting over the daughter, just like sad, and me and my family just standing there. So the guy who did the shooting, as he's going, he turned around, started going away, and then he came back, and then he turned around. As he walking by, he made eye contact with me. And he's like, you, what tribe are you? Because they were looking for Muslims and people from his tribe. And the only reason they were looking for Muslims because there was another rebel group that joined to fight his group, and most of them were Muslims. And back home, like, the Muslims were like taller. So they had a little bit of height. So I was tall. So he assumed that I was Muslim. So he walking by and said, you, what tribe are you? What tribe are you? So I'm from the Pele tribe, but in Miracle Liberia, with my mom from the Pele tribe. So I didn't know how to speak my language that well. I could hear it. I could understand it when my mom spoke to me, like I answered her in English. So he came at me and said, you, what tribe are you? I said, I'm Pele, from the Pele tribe. And then he said, oh, okay. He said, speak your tribe, speak your tribe. And the one sentence that I know, that's the one. I said, no, old man, I'm right by the tribe. My name is, because back home they used to call me old man, that was my name. So I think they said, my name is old man, I'm from Balator. I said, man, no, old man, I'm right by the tribe. And he said, I don't believe this guy. I don't believe this guy. He cocked the gun again. And then his commander jumped in. He said, whoa, soldier, at ease. He said, at ease. He said, go over there. And the guy is just mad. And he pushed him. He said, go over there. And then he pushed him away. So when the guy pushed him away, and I'm just standing there, my mom, my dad, everybody's just begging, crying. And then about 30 minutes later, they told us, everybody go back inside. So we went back in, and less than an hour again, come back outside. Everybody go to the refugee camp. All right? They call it a compound. And the compound is like the American embassy way up the hill. They had a compound where all the residents, all the American embassy staff used to stay. But when the rebels attacked, they sent the Marines to come in and rescue all the Americans from there. So you could actually see the blackout helicopter used to come down. They take people and then take them away to the aircraft carrier, which you can see way in the ocean. So the whole compound was empty. It had buildings, but it was empty, so they turned into a refugee camp. So when we left, when we all came back outside, all these guys just walking around, like you see bodies everywhere. We just walking with our stuff on our head, and they directing us towards the compound. Go to the compound. So as we're walking on the street, again, bodies. We actually started taking sniper fire. You don't know who's shooting. But as you're walking, you just see the bullet and they right in the wall. And you have to stop and you have to talk. So you stop and say, they told us to go to the compound. And then they won't shoot again. So we went to the compound. We built our tent. We built a little tent, 14 of us in that little tent. And that day, I remember that day, it was just so hot. And I saw the lady who husband was killed, and the little girl, and she's sitting on the step, and she just was hanging in her head, just looking down like that. And it was just so sad, And the one thing about the compound is like, we were there, like the rebels were not allowed to come in the compound with guns, but they can come in and take you out and do whatever they want to do. They can come in and whip you, and nobody can do anything, but they were not allowed to bring guns in because it's considered to be like U.S. property, so they were not allowed to bring in the guns. So like, less than 2 minutes, the embassy is right there, and the Marines are right there protecting the embassy, like they're behind the stand wall with like heavy machine guns and stuff like that. So after we did our tent, next to our tent there was a family. There was a guy, his mom, and his son. So, but we came to find out that he was in the army. So once word started to get around that he was in the army, he left. He ran away. He left his mom, his mom, and the little boy. So they didn't have no food to eat. So someone told the rebels that there was an army guy who used to live there with his mom. So we found out because in the evening, we saw 3 dudes coming. They came straight to the tent. Where's your son? Where's your son at? She said, oh, my son is not here anymore. Where did he go? They tried to find out where he went. And she didn't know where he went. So we got slapped for that. There's an old lady, slapped her. She fell to the ground. Started kicking her. And then they tie her. It's called tie big. When you get tie big, it's like, come here. It's like you get tie big. You put your arm behind you, until your elbows touch. And then they tie it real tight. So until your elbows touch one another like that, and they tie it like real tight. So the old lady, they tie her like that, and she's crying. And the guy had a razor blade in his hands, he's literally cutting her like that. He's just chopping her like that. Oh, shut up. Where's your son? And she's just bleeding all over the place. If we couldn't run, we said like this is our tent, this is the tent right there. And you just, because if you run, they're gonna ask you like, why are you running? You gotta give them a reason. If you don't give them a reason, then you're dead. So they left her, and she's a lady crying. So we wanted to cut the rope from her, and a couple of days later she died. So she died, and she left her grandson there. And the kid, he had nobody to take care of him. He became very malnourished. Like you can see a lot of kids like the upper body is like this skinny, and the legs are like that. They're filled with it. So one day, me and my little brother cooked. We were making some chicken feed. That's what we used to get from the United Nations. It's like dirty corn, like chicken feed, like it's like rice. So we used to go get free chicken feed. So we'd be like standing over there like, hours trying, and they would just like, every family get one cup full, every family get one cup full. So we all would go, by the time, 10 of us, 14 of us, by the time everybody get one cup full, at least 14 cups, so we take it back home. So we cooking, and I'm looking at the tent, and I told my little brother, I said, man, we call him Peking, Peking means kid. So I said, that Peking, a little bit, he moved, and my brother looked at me and said, oh, maybe the next day, maybe he's dying. So we grabbed Rock, so I told Rock anything to see if he's gonna get up. So I was just like that. So we actually went and, Peking, wake up, Peking. And then he woke up, he said, are you okay? He said, I'm okay, I'm hungry. I want food, I'm hungry, I want food. So we put some of the thing in the corn thing and took it to him. He ate it, we gave him some water to drink, and then he laid back down and stayed in the same position. So this time he was not moving at all. He went back and pulled himself again, went close to the tent calling his name, and he was dead. So when you die, when people die in the refugee camp, there's no real burial site. So they just came and grabbed the body. There's a hill, and they just dig like a little hill, just like a little hole, and dump you in there and cover it up. And then when it rained, rainwater just come and wash everything down at the bottom of the hill. And at the bottom of the hill was the well. That's where we got the water from. So people went to the bathroom there. You go to get water, and you see the little parasites in the water, and you just go take it out of the water like that. All right. So all that was going on. We had no food. So my dad used to go. Now, imagine having the business, living the life that we live, to falling into that, you know. So we had to get adjusted real fast. So my dad used to sneak out with his friend because we had curfew, 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. in the morning. Nobody's allowed to go outside. If you get caught outside after 6 p.m., you're dead. If you're not a rebel soldier or if you're not in the military, you're done. You get severely. If you're blessed, they'll probably cut a body part off and let you go. But for the most part, you're done. You're done. And you could tell because you would hear them yelling like they would say, you would just hear a rebel guy go like, hold it! They leave it, hold it! And then all of a sudden followed by a machine gun fire. Hold it! You know somebody's done. So my dad and his friend used to sneak out of the compound, out of the refugee camp before 6 p.m. So they would sneak out and go to the bridge and hide under the bridge in the column so they can fish at night so that you can bring food for us to eat the next day. So the one night they're fishing, and I think the rebels were either walking under the bridge and they heard the sound, like they would hear people under the thing. So like they went under the bridge and just put a gun there. They just shooting it randomly trying to see if they can hit somebody. And then they kept going. So dad would come home with like little fish and stuff like that, and we'll be able to eat. And the one time I think it was a Christmas Eve that we had nothing. So they were fishing and they couldn't catch anything. And the line was just, they had a thick fishing line that we didn't have the hook that you can go like that. We just had the line and they'll put a hook on it, they'll put a bait on it and throw it in the water and then tie it on the column of the bridge. So in the morning, he and his friend packing up their stuff to come back to the camp with no fish, no food. So his friend saw the line going like that. So he had hooked onto a giant fish. So his friend like, Johnny, they used to call him TCJ. He said, TCJ, look at the line, I think there's a fish on there. Just grab the line, pull it inside, pull the line. As they're pulling, you can see like basically like bodies floating in the water. Like, so imagine what that fish been eating, right? So they pulled the fish in, big old fish. So he brought it home and we were all happy that we were able to sell some of the fish for like rice and oil and stuff like that. So we ate good that day. But it didn't last too long. Again, and out of food was very hard to come by. So he ordered for us to get money. My dad used to buy cigarettes. So he would buy the cigarettes and give it to me to go sell it in the compound. So I used to be working around in the compound. He said, don't go outside, stay inside the compound. Don't go outside the fence, because he's in the fence. So I'd be working around, buy a cigarette, buy a cigarette, buy a cigarette. So one time in the evening, I was selling the cigarette. As I'm walking back to the camp, to our tent, I see these 6 guys coming towards me. So I'm like, oh, man, you normally don't see 6 regular people just walking like that coming. So I'm like, these guys must be rebels. That doesn't mean some tell me to cross the street. So I'm like, if I cross the street, they're gonna think I'm suspicious. So I just kept walking with my cigarette pack. And they were nicely dressed. Like they had changed, they were not in their fighting clothes. Like they were nicely dressed. So as they were walking past me, the one guy said, Peking, what are you selling? He said, kid, what are you selling? I said, I'm selling cigarettes. So one day, he gave me the rest. And they started walking away. So I just stood there looking. And then he turned around and said, what? You want money? He said, do you want money? And I said, no. I said, oh, okay. He went. So I went to my dad. I said, I was selling a cigarette and the rebels came and took it from my hand. So he said, okay, that's okay. So we heard that now this guy had taken over now, so we heard that he was coming to the tent, to the camp, to come and see the living condition of the people, because he's been hearing about refugees. So you could hear in the camp, and people just getting nervous. Oh, Prince Johnson's coming. That's his name, Prince Johnson. Prince Johnson come to the camp. Oh man, like, what's going on? What's going to happen? So the day that he came, like 100 deep. That's how they came, like 100, like just deep, like this. So everybody standing in front of the tent. We all standing just watching. So he's walking down the hill, and my dad recognized one of his generals. He turned to my mom, he said, I think that the man is Vani. I think it's Father Vani over there. And my mom said, who? And they pointed him out. Then my mom said, call him. He said, oh, no, I'm not calling him. So as he go walking by, he finally mustered the energy. He said, Vani. And the guy turned on and said, oh, TJ. How you doing? He gave my dad a big old hug. He said, what are you doing here? He said, oh, me and my family were at the airport. He gave me the whole story. He said, so we gave me, and then he turned to Prince Johnson. He introduced him to my dad. He said, yeah, this man was a businessman. This man used to help me out. This man used to help me. He used to give me. So everything that my dad did for him, he started to tell Prince Johnson. So you remember when I said, like, don't forget the people you be on the way up the ladder. Because they will be the same people that you never in our wildest imagination that we ever think we're going to come across that guy, and now he will be there. So imagine if he had come across my dad and my dad was any other way. Imagine that. I probably wouldn't be here. We would be done. So he told my dad, he said, you guys have food? My dad said, no, we don't have food or anything like that. He said, okay, I'm going to send somebody to pick you up tomorrow. So the next day he sent 2 guys to pick him up. He came early in the morning. He said, we're going to pick you up, take you to the base, the rebel base. So he took him to the base. All day he was gone. So imagine the fear factor setting in. Oh man, he's probably dead. They probably kill him. He's done. Because these guys, when I say vicious, they can lie for you 1 second, the next second they're shooting you like with nothing. And they forget that they didn't even kill you. They forget. So he was gone all day. So late in the evening, we just sitting there, my mom is crying, and everybody looked worried. And then in the distance, we see somebody coming, carry a big old bag on his shoulder. And then my brother, oh, that's him over there. And we went running. So they hook him up with like rice, oil, beans, like syrup, like everything. So he said, yeah, we got some stuff in the car. The rebels that were forward, and they helped us to bring the stuff to our tent. So now there was another fear, because everybody around us saw us have the food. So we think at night, if we go to sleep, they come right in and try to do something with us. So nobody can sleep that night. So we just stay all night, just keeping watch. Nobody going to sleep that night, because you don't trust anybody, you know. So after all that happened, the African countries, some of the West African countries put together a peacekeeping force called ECOMOG. And from ECOMOG, they sent them to bring peace. So when they came, they took over the airport, they pushed Charles Taylor's men back, they pushed Prince Johnson's men started working with them. He said, okay, I'm going to work with you guys, we can bring about peace and stuff like that. So Prince Johnson called Dole and said, I'm the only way out of the country. If you go to Charles Taylor, he's going to kill you. I can help you to leave the country. So Simon Dole started to get afraid. Like he knew you were going to get killed. So he said, you know what, maybe I should take this down on his offer. So he said, or we 2 of us can join forces and go fight him. So he got most of the country. Mind, that was his old enemy. But for some reason, he what he said. So he decided to take him up on his offer to leave the country. So he loaded up his wife, his whatever they had, and they went into Prince Johnson territory to the seaport to escape. And they were ambushed. So Prince Johnson's men ambushed him, and he just cut him alive. Like everybody probably imagined was cut up. As they cutting him up, actually reminding him of some of the stuff that he used to do. So they'll cut up an area and be like, this area is for all the people you killed in that spot. Cut up your tongue. And he just killed. So we were actually in the compound, we heard the news like, oh yeah, Prince Johnson captured Dole. And people were like, how? And they said, yeah, he was trying to escape, and he went there and he got captured and he got killed. So now we had no president. We had 2 rebel groups with no president. So now the peacekeeping force now had to take the position as the government until things calm down. So the peacekeepers started pushing them back, pushing Charles Taylor back until to the point where they created a buffer zone around the city. So we were finally able to try to go back home to whatever we left at home. And when we got back, again, talking about the mercy of God, most of the homes around us burned down, like, to the ground. Our house was still standing, there were bullet holes everywhere, but it was still standing up, so we were able to patch things up and stuff like that, and started trying to put our lives back together. And so the rebels, they pushed them like miles away, so because they couldn't fight anymore, they started shooting bombs in the city. So they would just bring the artillery on top of the hill and just fire right into the city randomly. So imagine just sitting here and bombs just dropping everywhere because they just wanted to do it. So as time went by, peace started coming back, little by little, peace started coming back, and people from here, Liberians from here, started going back to Liberia to help to rebuild the country. So one of the people who went back was Mr. Wise, the man from here. He went back home, and he formed a basketball team. Again, try to get all the young people off the streets, try to rehabilitate minds and stuff like that. And I grew up like playing soccer. I didn't like basketball. So I was tall, but I didn't want to play basketball. So he started recruiting kids, and one of my friends told me, he said, yeah, I got a friend, I go to school with this kid, and he's very tall, but he don't like basketball. So he said, okay, tell him to come see me. So the guys came to my house and said, you want to play, Picky, you want to play basketball? I said, man, I don't like basketball, I want to play soccer. I want to be like George Weah. George Weah was the top soccer player for my country. So he's like, everybody trying to be LeBron James. I want to be George Weah, but I don't want to play soccer. I want to play basketball. So he said, well, just tell him to come. Tell him I just want to see him. So I went to his house, and he said, you don't want to play basketball? Why? I said, I don't like basketball. He said, okay, well, I just want you to come and hang out with the team. You don't have to play, just come hang out with us. And if you want to train, you can train and stuff like that. We'll give you food. So I went there, and he used to give the team, they used to cook food at his house. He had a basketball court behind his house. So the only thing that kept me going was the free food. So I used to go for the food, and little by little, he started developing a likeness for me, So I was terrible. I didn't know how to play. I didn't like basketball. So the coach of the team was a very good trainer. So he told me, he said, yeah, when you go try to work with this kid, help him out. He's a good kid. So the coach took me over there to the wing. The coach was like the manager of we had a YMCA, So I used to go to the Y and sit all day. They would give me food and stuff like that, and then he would try to help me out. It was still hard for me to pick up the game because it was just hard. So Mr. Wiles was getting ready to come back to America. He told me, I will try to help you to bring you to America. And I'm like, why? And like, you're a nice kid. I just want to help you. I said, okay, thank you. But in my head, I'm like, that's a lot. Nobody can do something like that. So I went home and told my family. I went home and told my mom. I said, yeah, Mr. Wiles said he'll bring you to America and he'll help me. And then my mom was like, you sure? Then she said, my mom loved to pray. So every now and then she would pray, and then she would worry, and then she would worry and pray again. So, did you hear from the man? Did you hear from Mr. Wiles? I said, I haven't heard from him yet. So it took him months. I didn't hear from him. So he called, and he told the guy, he said, tell Jordan I didn't forget. He used to come on my last. Went back home. She started a business back home. So he called her and said, tell Jordan to come to my house the next day. So I went, he called, and he told me, he said, okay, I'm going to send $500 so we can help you put paperwork together for me. Huh? Said, out of nowhere. So he sent the money for the put my paperwork together. So the one guy was helping me to we went and got my passport. Like, same day, got my passport. And then the hardest part was getting my visa. Because the visa was like, the lady who did the interview for the visa, like, you could hear everybody say, that lady is tough. This old white lady, like, she's tough, man. Like, she asked me tough questions. So if you get that question wrong, you're done. Like, she's gonna deny you. So went to the embassy that day, like, I'm so scared, like, I'm just nervous. So she asked me all these questions. She's like, so why are you going to America? I said, I'm going to go visit my uncle. She said, what does he do for a living? I didn't know what he did for a living. I don't know. How much money does he make? I don't know. Because they're trying to make sure that whoever you're going to live with can take care of you. So I don't know. Everything is, I don't know. She looked at me and said, why are you going? You can't do anything. And then she somewhere, somehow, she stamped the visa. She said, welcome to the United States. I was just like, she gave it to me, and again, everything is just moving so fast over my head, I had no idea. So I came outside, and my friend saw me, the guy who took me, said, did you get it? I said, yeah. And we two were jumping, we happy and stuff like that. We high-fiving one another and live. And he said, did you answer the question? I said, no, I didn't answer nothing. She just gave it to me. I was just like, so it came time for me to leave, and we crying, and my family, everybody's crying, my little sister, everybody's crying. It was like a bittersweet moment, you know. So he said, he sent a plane ticket, I still remember it was the envelope. Sent a plane ticket on the morning that I was leaving, and my mom, everybody just, crying. So when they took me to the airport, whatever was left of the airport, they took me to the airport in this little propeller plane, like, it's my first time flying. And I'm in the plane, like, because at an airport, like, there's no, it's not like Albany Airport where you walk in the thing, where your parents, your family can't see you. Like, they can literally walk to the gate, and the plane is right there. That's how close it was. So they would see me, and I'm in the plane, like, looking through the window, just crying, and they're waving, like, I see them. Well, on my way to the plane, that's my first time my dad ever hugged me, like, on my way to the plane. He ran through, he grabbed me, just squeezed me really hard, and he cried. That's my first time seeing him cry, too. So I got on the plane, I was a mess. I remember there's an old lady sitting next to me, an old white lady sitting next to me. She left her seat, came to my seat, and started comforting me. You'll be okay. It's okay. You'll be okay. Life will be good. You'll be okay. Don't cry. So she talked me all the way. I flew, landed in Ivory Coast, spent the night with just a while with a friend of his, and then the next day he took me to the airport, and I flew to Brussels. Again, first time leaving my family all my whole life. Flew to Brussels. From there, we came to the U.S., landed at JFK Airport, and then another problem. I went to customs, because customs immigration, like, that's the last stop before you can actually come in. So the lady again asked me a question again. She said, why? She looking at the visa. She said, why are you here? I said, I'm coming to go to school. She said, go to school? I said, yes. She looking at the visa. I said, well, this is not a student visa. I said, I don't know. She said, this is a B2 visa. You need an F1 visa for school. So she said, you have the wrong visa. I'm lost for words. I don't know what to say. So again, she look around, boom, 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 go. Second time, go. And I left. Walk, I came with a little bag, couple underwear, deodorant, $50 in my wallet. That's all I came with, a little bag. So I'm in the airport, I'm looking for Mr. Wise. Like, I'm just looking around. Just, people could tell that I didn't belong there, like, to be honest with you, because it was winter and I had an African shirt on. And everybody's fully dressed, and I'm looking around, and I got on the belt, like, they got a little belt thing that you stand on, and instead of walking, it would just take you. So I got, I'm looking around, like, people just looking at, who's this guy? Like, and then my wife and my kids know my fear of escalators. Like, I'm still afraid of it to this day. When we go to the mall, I'll pull it down. And that's exactly how it was the very first time I saw one of those. I gripped it really hard, and the only reason why I stepped on, because I looked behind, I saw a long line. No other option. Like, I was just like, and then to this day, that's how I get on it. I'm not even kidding. So I went down, and I looked around, and I said, man, this guy didn't pick me up. He didn't pick me up. 2.5 hours later, before he showed up. So I'm like, I was getting ready to go turn myself into the cops. I said, put me in the back of the next plane. Like, I don't want to be here no more. So the one guy tried to help me. He said, you want to make a call? I said, yes. So he took me to the payphone. That's when they had a payphone. So I showed him the number, and he looked at the number, he said, you don't have to make a collect call. This is Atlanta. This is an Atlanta number. You can't just call it like that. So he said, you got to put money in the phone. I said, how much? He said, quarter. So he said, you want to put a quarter in? That's why I showed him the number. He said, oh, it's not going to help you. You have to make a collect call. So I tried to make a collect call, no answer. So 2.5 hours later, Mr. Wars came to pick me up. And he saw me, he said, Jordan. And I ran to him, oh, man, I'm sorry. It's because of the traffic in New York City. It was at JFK Airport. I couldn't get there in time. So we spent the night in the city. And then the next day we started driving here. As we in the city, I'm just looking around, like, looking at the building. I'm like, wow, how? Like, I'm just in shock. Like, 1 minute I'm here going through this. The next minute I'm here trying to experience this. And as we driving here, I'm looking at the trees. Oh, like, the trees don't have no leaves. So I'm like, why how come the trees don't have leaves? He said, oh no, it's the winter. In the winter time the leaves drop. I said, no, that's not. I said, these trees are dead. I said, these trees are dead. Remember we pulled up, it was snowing that day. There's no way these trees are going to ever grow leaves. Like, I convinced myself that it's not possible. So I was like, man. So I came here, again, we all know, they know how to play basketball. Started learning how to play basketball. Like, 6'10", 6'11", the big dudes just walking through the building. Like, oh yeah, African kid is here, African kid is here. I'm just like, yeah, I'm here. You do what it is you want, you know? So, they had the Lamar Odom, and all those guys in here, the Lamar Odom, the Cowboy, all the big dudes. So, I remember the first time I went to just couldn't do nothing. I couldn't even catch a coach if I tried, let alone play the basketball. Couldn't catch nothing. So you guys are trying to help me out at home, different times and stuff like that. After a while, I was a little skinny. After a while, different times used to take me to the weight room, the same weight room you guys go to. He's the first person to teach me how to lift weights. Started lifting weights, started getting stronger, and started working. Because of my soccer background, I knew how to play a little bit of defense, but that was it. So I started learning how to play defense, started learning basically learning how to catch the ball. I couldn't do anything. So as we played games and stuff like that, I remember the first time I got a scholarship offer, a letter in the mail for a scholarship. I'm like, is it James, you got a letter? What letter? From where? From a college. Me? Yeah, you, look, it's from a college. I'm like, man, you must be blind. I'm not kidding, they must be blind, because I mean, you got all the All-Americans in the building, and I said, we got all the national and you sent a letter to me. So I'm like, wow, okay. I didn't know, again, I didn't know what to do. Free, I had NBA prospects, I had dudes on my team who went to the league. He said, they didn't vote for you because you're good or you're bad. They didn't vote for you because of your character. Because you always encourage them to be in practice. You always, when your team isn't down, you're always the one trying to help them up. You always say, so your team is really respected. That's why they voted for you, not because of whether you can play or not. You know? On campus, never used a computer in my whole life. All right? I had kids who could help me how to type my paper. Like, all that stuff was new to me. How to go to the library, how to get a phone and do search. All that stuff was new to me. Because learning back then was different. Again, people just lining up to help. Right? And basically the moral of the story, to be honest with you, like I put it right, I said, God will make a way. God made a way when there was no way. If you hear the story from there to here, you say, he's a good God. Just when you think there's no other way possible and there's no way out, because at one point we thought there was no way out. The only other way was death. It was just a matter of, we were just sitting, waiting for the day that we were going to get killed. Basically, we were just surviving. And to go from that to where I am now, you know, and it's like, this is a testimony of God's grace and mercy. That's what it is. God's grace, there's nothing else. Like my parents paid, they paid a red penny for me to be here. I had no business being here for basketball. Some of the kids I played with were very good. And people used to question Mr. Wild, why'd you bring that guy? Like, you can't play. Take the other guy. And he's like, I'm not bringing him because of basketball. I'm bringing him because he's a nice kid. And that's where the other point comes in. Character. You know? And it's also a story of perseverance, character, and hard work. Those things will carry you far away than where talent can't take you. Right? Character. If I didn't have the character, do you think they would invite me to come and sit here and talk to me? So, character, perseverance, hard work, believing in yourself, respecting other people, yes ma'am, yes sir, whatever it is. When I came here, I had to do what I had to do. Right? The same thing you guys are doing. Sometimes was it hard? Yeah. But guess what? Compared to where I came from, it was nothing. I was not dodging bullets. I went fundraising, but I was not going like, oh, nah, what's that? Like, oh. Right? I had to persevere. That's what the perseverance part came in. It didn't kill me. It made me a better person. It made me a better person. It made me appreciate every little thing that comes my way. Yeah? Came here, met my wife. I couldn't ask for a better partner. I'm not even gonna lie to you. I couldn't. I went to college. Again, so when you guys go to college, the girls literally throwing themselves at you. Right? She was at Liberty University. You know what my teammates used to say? Yo, JJ, man, you never go out, man. And then someone would be like, yeah, that's what he got his girl in that state or whatever. Man, you loyal, man. What do you want me to do? I'm not that dude. So they used to be confused. They used to be confused. You know what I'm saying? Like, the time that they would invite me to like the campus parties. Yo, we got parties. The first question out of my mouth is, you got food? Yes. All right. Come and grab my plate. See you later, man. I'm out. No, you ask any one of my teammates, they will tell you. Any one of my teammates, they will tell you. She used to come to visit me on campus. She would get the same story all the time. I come and grab a couple of wings, and I'm out. Because I was always afraid that something bad was going to happen, and I didn't want to be in the middle. I didn't want to be in the middle. Grab my plate. Thank you for the food. I appreciate that. I stayed. right? Respected everybody on campus. I never picked a special group to hang out with, like as far as like people. They used to call me international man, because I go to the cafeteria, you see me with kids from Japan, kids with the blue hair, Vietnam. Like, they thought I was weird. My teammates would be like, "This dude is weird, man," right? But you see, again, coming from there, I was just grateful. I was just grateful for God. Yeah. I'm not gonna lie to you. So, regardless of how hard things might be in your life sometimes, if God chooses to, He can bring you up.
Right.
But sometimes His ways are not what?
Our ways.
Our ways. His ways are not our ways. His ways are not our ways. Now, maybe I had to go through that in order to be where I am today. Maybe I had to experience that in order to be able to talk to you today. Maybe that was His way of getting me here. Right? Maybe that was His way. People say, who won the war? Nobody. Nobody. Liberia lost. Liberians killed Liberians, destroyed Liberia, pushed Liberia all the way back from years away from where we were. Liberia lost. So to this day, we're struggling to rebuild.
That's right.
So I still had my family members. It was so like my mom, my sister was the first person to come in. My little sister. She had her own stories to tell. If you listen to her story, like, how man, how come God always helping you? Like, how come? That's how she got here. My sister came out, was shocked. Now she's in Maryland. She put herself to what she got?
She has a PhD now.
PhD. Put herself through school. Single mom, PhD. My aunt came with her husband and all my cousins. My sister and my brother came. He's in New Jersey now. He worked for a pharmaceutical company. My other brother came. He's in California. We all were there. We sent my dad. My mom was the first person we sent for. We never saw my mom in years when I came here. They didn't even talk to her on the phone. It took years before I was able to talk to my parents. They didn't know if I made it safely. They didn't know nothing from me. Nothing. So when I finally saw her, it was just, I couldn't. That was one of my prayers, just help me to see my mom again. I'm not even gonna lie. Help me to see my mom again. You see me, you see my mom, like, same thing. And then finally my dad came. My dad right now, my mom passed away last year, but she fought through all that. Made her prayer, like I said, she was praying. My mom was always praying. Like, I thought, okay, let's just pray. Even when she was battling with cancer, she just prayed all the time. Just keep praying. He's in God's hand. If God wants me to live, I will live. If God's ready for me, He will take me. That was the encouragement she gave me all the time. My dad right now, he's married right now, he lives with my sister right now. Right? She will keep him. Again, all because of what? Mercy.
Yes.
Mercy. You listen to the story, it don't sound real. Here I am. Here I am. Right? Here I am. Here I am. No talent, no skills, no business to be here. And what did He do? Choose to put me on a plane with a man who I didn't even know where He was bringing me. He could have took me anywhere, brought me to the school. I didn't know anybody in the school. Met people, built strong relationships, put me in a college. I had no business being in there because I didn't have the talent. I didn't have the skill to play Division I basketball. Graduated 4 years, on time, assistant captain. Got adopted by my biology teacher from college. I'm not kidding. Whole family. I'm not kidding. When I had nowhere to go, I used to go to the house. They lived in Philadelphia. They adopted all my kids. Wow. Mercy. Mercy. Right? Graduated from college. People give me jobs. Right to the RTPs right now at elementary school in Philadelphia, in Albany. I never went to college for PE. You know how I got the job? John Miles. Remember John? Used to go to school. John was a teacher at my school. When he was leaving with his family, the principal asked me, do you know anybody? John heard I was looking for a job. He told the principal about me. She said, invited me to come for an interview. First word out of my mouth, never taught PE before. She was okay, let's just go through the interview process. And then when she finally gave me the job, she said, I didn't give you a job because of your degree. I saw your resume. You do graphic design. I gave you a job because of what John said about you. That's why I gave you the job, because of what Coach Miles, because of what Coach Miles said about you. That's why I would hire you. Right? So it's just, sometimes there's some things you can't explain. But God knows the answer. And you're not too young to bury your knees and say, help me. You're not too young. I don't care what part of this life you're from, you're not too young to bury your knees and say, help me, Lord. If you need help. You ask for help long enough, it might not come the way you want it to come, but he's going to come some way, somehow. He's going to come some way, somehow. Blessed me with 3 kids, my wife. The whole thing is like just when I sit back and think about it. What's the song you always sing? When I think, right? Right? That's what that favorite song right there. And all he's done for me, right? It's just true. You literally sit there and say, wow, man, and I think of the goodness of God and all he's done for me. There's no way. What made me different from them? That could have been me. If I wasn't killed, I could have been easily one of them. All right? So whatever your dreams are, whatever your hopes are in life, put it in God's hands. Work hard. Respect the people around you. Be good to those you meet on your way up the ladder. Because they might be the same people that you might turn to someday for help. Even if you can't help them, say it in a way that they can leave with a head up high. Don't say it in a way that they can leave with a head down. Because you never know who God's going to use to come back and bless you. All right?
Amen.
I appreciate you having me.
Testimony and everything, and as I said there, Sister Holmes probably too. Oh my
Yes,
goodness,
yes.
it just brought memories to my mind, and I'll just give you a little
Yeah.
overview. Before we met, James Jordan, my husband and I, we went to a convention in, I think it was in California, I can't even remember where it was. And he's always been interested, and he had a passion for the struggle for kids like him getting out of their countries and, you know, coming here, and so we went to a convention and we met some people from Liberia. And so we were invited to go to Liberia. This is one of the missionary trips that we went. What year was that?
Like 84,
Yeah, 84.
something like that.
And so, long story short, when we went to Liberia, it was somewhere in the middle of all this stuff that he was talking about. But we didn't know all the history
Right.
behind it like you all. So we're just so excited. We're going on a missionary trip and, you know, and so forth. And so, thank God he was with us. And, but anyway, we encountered some really, we shouldn't be here right now. El Massey was in the middle of the time when they were looking for Americans because of who that guy was. We were way out, we were in a propeller plane that barely made it to our destination. We were in Monrovia. We're in a relatively nice hotel for Liberia.
The Ducor.
What was it?
The Ducor.
The Ducor Hotel. And so it was relatively nice, but then we got into a private plane, and we went way out into the
Sino
bush
County.
somewhere.
Sino County.
Yeah,
Sino County.
Sino County. And then when we were in Sino County, we're in a hotel, and they didn't have electricity or anything like that. And it was during that time, and somebody came to our door, and they knocked on the door.
Middle of the night.
Rebels.
In the middle of the night.
In the middle of the night, yes. Sister Holmes and Elder Holmes were there in the middle of the night. They're looking for Americans and whatever. And the guy was, they were looking for someone named Mr. Johnson.
Yes.
Huh? Yes. And so it was just a manifestation for, I mean, this is how God works. so they came, they knocked on our door, Mr. Johnson, Mr. Johnson. And whoever, we knew it was rebels who were out to, and they're gonna, whoever Mr. Johnson was, he was gonna get, all of a sudden, Elder Massey in a Liberian accent, Mr. Johnson is not here. And he yelled it, and he just had this Liberian accent. God gave him a Liberian accent that actually fooled them to the point that they thought it was like, and they said, sorry, 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 and they left. Okay, so we had, I can't even tell you the whole everything that happened, but anyway, the coup took place, one of the coups took place right when we were getting ready to leave. And you heard him say the airport is the first place that they target. Well, our host was trying to hurry and get us to the airport because they were not gonna let any more planes leave. And, in fact, when we got there, they weren't gonna let us on the plane at all. And our host was begging and pleading, and he ran through there, and he told us the truth. The airport is not like any of the airports. You just, little pathway, and you just see the plane right there. And he literally just bombarded his way through, and they had just closed the door. And that was the last plane that was gonna leave, literally. And he pleaded and he banged and said, no, open the door. And they let us in. And we got on that plane and we left out. And little did we know our relationship with the people in Liberia and everything, that we were gonna have a student, invite a student to come over here. And I mean, it's a long story. While we were there, we visited a school in Monrovia, and the school was literally a shell. It was nothing. And my husband had a vision for that school, and he says, we want to support the school. And so back from 80-something to right now, they named the school Elder John Massey High School. Was it?
Wow.
What is it?
Elder John Massey High School.
Yeah, Elder John Massey High School. And it went from a shell to, it is, there's over 200 students in the school right now. And we're going to show you. During the week, Sister Nurse will show you the graduating class from there. Each year, we send them their diplomas, and Elder Massey sends his commencement address, and we send funds over there. And but the school has grown, and so my daughter, Milani, who's in Atlanta, she happened to go to a little missionary event, and she met someone from Liberia, and then they said to her, she said, oh, my father supports a school, has a school over there. High school, my daughter was just shocked. She said, it is the most well-known school in Liberia.
Wow.
And so all of you young men who are here from whatever country you're from, and even if you're here from the United States, God has you here for a purpose.
Yes.
It's not a coincidence, it's not an accident or anything. And I can attest to the character that he had when he was in school. Always getting Christian character, always the student, the honor roll student and whatever. If you have dreams, if you have goals, it starts now. It starts right now. You never know where God's going to lead you, where he's going to take you. It doesn't matter where you came from, okay? Doesn't matter how bad your situation was or how good your situation is. God can take you to places that you never dreamed of. And our purpose in life is not about us. It's about to help somebody else. What purpose would our lives be if it was only about us? That's self-centeredness, that's selfishness. And we thank God for James, his character. And his dedication and wanting to give back. And that's, you see, Latoya, Sister Latoya, she went to, SUNY Albany and got a master's vision. You have to get a vision and you have to be disciplined. And we're gonna go over that I have a little session about self-discipline and help you motivate yourself. And, because you can't wait for your buddy to motivate you.
That's right.
You can't, your motivation can't come by, like he said, he didn't go to the parties. He didn't do what everybody else was doing, hanging out and whatever. He was focused. And your focus doesn't start when I get to college, and your focus started now. He got where he went because he was focused here. And he gained a reputation. And your reputation is not what you think of yourself. It's what other people think of you. When he left here, he left with a good reputation where everybody was able to say, that's a good young man. And that young man, his reputation is going to take him places. So it starts right here. Okay. Have any questions for Coach James? Any questions? Anyone have a question?
Oh, yes, Brandon.
How did they get a picture of Charles Taylor without getting killed?
Google.
How did they take the picture?
Huh?
How did they take the picture of him?
Well, during the war, they would have, because people like that want to promote themselves, so they had like the BBC was like almost like the CNN, like the British broadcasting system, so they would send like photographers. So obviously they were all posed to make themselves look big and bad, because once you take that picture, obviously it's going to go around the world. So that's how we took pictures.
I may have missed it. How old were you during the war?
Good God, that's a good question. We started, I'm gonna say 15, yeah, probably 13, 14, around that area.
And he persevered
Yeah.
through all of that.
Yeah. Switch places with you, somebody else, somewhere else, will switch places with you in a heartbeat. So when you consider it to be hard, that person is looking at it like, please Lord, put me in that position. Put me in that position. To be honest with you, like, you have no idea. Alright? So again, sure talking about hanging out with, picking the right people to hang out with people who are going the direction that you want to go in. Whatever the direction is. If your goal is to become somebody in life, hang out with people who are heading in that same area. Because if you hang out with someone who's going this way, if your character is not strong enough, they're going to pull you to go that way. And then down the line, guess what people are going to say? He was so this, he was going this way. But then once he started doing this, he or she, look where they are now. So it says, show me your friends and I will tell you who you are. I don't even have to know you. All I have to know is, look at the dudes you're hanging out with. That's who you're hanging out with. So this is who you are. Because birds of the same feather do what? You never see an eagle flying in the spiral. You never see a lion hanging out with a deer. Ever. You don't. If you see one lion, you see another lion. but they're all focused on the same thing. So hang out with people who are gonna help you get to your destination, and they're gonna encourage you. If you say when you go to college, I have to write my paper. Let's go to the party, and then we can do our paper. That don't make no sense. I have a 20-page paper I have to write. You want me to leave and go to a party, and then come back and write my paper? Does that make sense? Oh, no. So obviously that person is not in my corner, right? I have a paper to write. All right, let's go to the library, let's go do our paper together, and then we can go hang out. That's the person who is in my corner. So it's easy to spot it. So if you don't make the right choice, you're gonna end up on that same path. On that same path. And like you said, regardless of how hard you think it is, man, just come back and say thank you. Like, I don't care what it is. Like I tell the kids in basketball, if your coach don't say anything to you, it could be one of those things. They don't care what you no more. Right? If they don't say anything to you at all, you should be worried. If they make you run hard, if they yell at you, and every time they make a mistake, they try to help you, it means they care about you. So if you're here and they're making you get up to go fundraise, get up to go do the gift, flip it around. I'm gonna be a businessman someday. I know how to sell cookies. I know to make conversation with people who I don't know. Who knows what kind of impact you can have on some of those people? Somebody come to buy a thing of rum cake from you, and you, how you doing today? Yeah, I'm supposed to, oh, what a nice young man. Guess who they're gonna remember the next time they come to that store? That's the young man right there. Hey, John, let me introduce you to this young man. This is it. What school do you go to again? You start building connections. You can look at it as punishment, but find a way to turn it around. I'm telling you, turn it around in your favor. Right? Oh, I'm always mopping floor. Okay, but what if you grow up and you get your own janitorial company?
Right.
Why I gotta go to church on Wednesday night? Well, maybe you could be a youth pastor someday.
That's right.
Always find a way to counter the thoughts that are going in your head. And once you counter that thought, that negative thought is going to shut up. That's what it is. If you don't, if you keep feeding it, it will grow bigger, then you're going to get miserable. Everywhere you go, you're going to take that misery with you. Find a way to change the thoughts in your head to help you to get to your destination. Come back and say, thank you. And help somebody else.
Right.
Help somebody else. People ask me, what do you think about redemption? It's tough. You can make it. Oh, wow. Look at me. Being bury me in the backyard. I made it. To college, I got a scholarship, I got a family. Right? I made it. You want discipline? You want your kid to be disciplined? Yes. Or you can put him in public school. You pick and choose. They can be on the news for the wrong thing, or they can go somewhere and learn some discipline and get a life together and grow up to be somebody. You choose. Right? So you.
And Coach James did not get where he got by staying up on the phone all night. Number one, we didn't have cell phones back in the day. We had a pay phone. And how many minutes?
I'm telling you, again, listen up. You know the good thing about, I don't think sometimes when we talk about young people and stuff, you guys have no idea how blessed you are.
Yeah.
When people give you knowledge, some of us look at it like, oh, that's because you're old. No, it's because we experience it, and we're telling you what to experience. That's like driving on the highway and somebody flag you down and say, don't go that way, there's traffic. Thank you, I'm going to take a detour. But some of us say, mind your own business, you're too old, I'm going to go into traffic anyway. Right? The phone is convenient. Don't let it dominate your life.
That's right. That's right.
You spend 3 hours on the phone and you hang up and you got nothing to show for it.
That's right.
You got nothing to show for it. Your thumbs hurt or you're doing this. Nothing to show for it. Imagine what you can do in those 3 hours. My wife was telling me coming here, she said, talk about your art, talk about your art. She's learning how to do art. I've been in here. Right? You know how to spend my time? My kids will tell me. I'm always learning how to make it, because I use my art to like, how to make t-shirts, how to print on. And I watch other people get a Cricut, learn how to use it. I never used this little machine called Cricut. I never used a Cricut in my life. My co-worker told me about Cricut. She said, Coach, if you get it, this is going to be great. I was like, really? I started saving my money on the side. Then literally $5 here, $10 here, because Cricut is expensive. Right? I have a credit card. I could have swiped it, but I said, I'm gonna save the money, swipe the card to build up credit, and then grab the money and put it in there before they charge me interest. That's how I got my credit. She went with my hoodie. Right?
And then as I'm
Right? The point I'm trying to make is this. I could easily sit there and be on my phone with my friends, wasting my time.
He's a great artist. You have, one time we had to show you his artwork.
It's in the gym.
Oh, yeah, it's in the gym.
In the gym, the center of the court in the gym, that's him.
They just come. Right? Again, just to let you know, like, the point is this. Hey, don't miss the point. The point is not this. That's not the point. The point is, and I tell my daughter all the time, it's called, when you go to physical college, anyone of you go to physical college, ask the first question, how do you guys do time management? If you know how to manage your time, you'll never be late. You know how to manage your time? I beat my alarm clock up every morning. 5 o'clock, I beat the alarm. I beat the alarm so much my alarm got mad. She said, man, don't set me up. Why you setting me up? I'm supposed to wake you up. You wake me up. Because I train my body. I train my body. Right? Don't, if they say come down, you go into this store, don't let them honk the horn. Be right there. Because you know why? If somebody come and ask them, what do you think about this kid? What do you want them to say? If somebody calls Coach Tristan, somebody calls Coach Wooden, and Coach Brandon, what do you think about so and so? What do you want them to say? Do you want them to lie? Or do you want them to tell the truth? Tell them to tell the truth. Okay, they gave me the truth to tell. Because I'm not gonna lie. Gave me the truth to tell. Because if I lie, guess what? And it comes back, you're not gonna trust me no more. So I'm gonna tell them exactly what you gave me.
That's right.
Because your reputation speaks for everything.
Right.
Your character speaks for everything.
That's right.
Okay? They didn't have to open the doors for you. They did. You might not like it, but they opened the doors. They give you a place to stay. If something happening outside, they're going to make sure you're safe in here.
That's right.
If your parents call, yeah, she said we got they will put their lives on the line for you. But that's the thing those are the things that other people don't want you to hear about. For you, that's a huge responsibility. Especially getting kids from other countries, that's huge. Huge. So take the time and say, thank you. A little fundraising, a little dishwashing, a little floor cleaning, never hurts. Ever. They will tell you that. I do laundry, I fold the laundry, I mop the floor, I do this. I don't look at it as a job. It's not a job. Learn to do it. When you leave here, you're going to be a man, you're going to be a woman. Because when you go into the outside world, if you're not prepared, your parents are not going to be around the whole time. I tell the kids in my school, they're taking care of you now, one day you're going to take care of them. That's why they're taking care of you now. If you're not prepared, you just become a menace to society. You become a burden to society. You don't want to be a burden to society. You want to be able to give back. You might not make it to the NBA, you might not make it to the WNBA. It doesn't matter. You're going to make it in life. Give back. Reach back. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Thank you. How can I help you? This and that. Tell me.
That's right.
I preach the same message in my school. Preach is cool. I say I got a song for every kid that come out of the bus. Kid come out of the bus, mom just cuss him out, he gets pissed. I give a big old hug, go, come on, man. And people are like, Coach, where do you get energy from? I got a job. I got problems, but I ain't gonna bring it in the building. I leave my problem in the car and lock them up. I'll be back to handle your little people. We'll take care of you when we come back, right? But because, again, you got to get in there, you got to show your best side. When you come to practice, why are you shooting that shot? Coach don't like me. What do you mean? I'm not playing enough. What's the solution? Work! Let me walk by the gym and hit the basketball. What's in that gym? Okay, okay, stuff. You don't want people to hand you stuff. They own you. They can literally tell you, if you don't do this, we'll take this away from you. And you got nothing else to work to live on. If you're a hard worker, they can take you to any part of the world you live. They can take you from here and take you to Vietnam. In the rice field, you'll be the best rice planter. Who's this guy? You will be the best out there. You know why it's called? Hard work. You can take it here. So do the same thing here. Make your parents proud. When they come in for your graduation, well, they'll be, that's my son. Don't get put on the bus and get tossed out of here. That's a bald head shame. It is. It really is. Work hard. Go to church if you have to go to church. Sit in the front, listen to the word. It's for your own soul. I'd rather listen to the word than listen to the rap music that tells me to grab a gun and go kill my neighbor. It's true. Stop complaining. Nobody want to hear it. Nobody want to hear it. All right? Hey, man, wake him up.
Real quick,
Hold up.
did any other young men come from Liberia around the same time that you did and come and get the same opportunity here
Yes.
that you
Two
had?
of my friends came here. They remember James Lee, Ali Cobb. James Lee was like the mini Michael Jordan back home. I kid you not, this kid was talented. Talented. Ali was like 6'7", long arms, block shot. But the one thing that Lee didn't have, James Lee is back home right now. He's back home right now, selling drugs. Talent. I was happy when they came here. All right? But Lee didn't have the integrity, the character. The one time I saw James, I was like, you got all the money from, man? Where do you have money? Where do you have all the money from? Man, Mr. Wild sent me some money. Mr. Wild sent me some money. How come he sent me money? He said he brought me here first. So when I finally got a chance, I said, did you send James Lee some money? Jordan, stay away from that man. That's what Mr. Wild told me. He brought us here. He said, stay away from him. He said, Lee has been giving me trouble since I brought him here. I don't know what to do with him anymore. I don't know what to do with him anymore. James Lee started growing up, hanging out with people in the neighborhood. Nobody here knew about it, hanging out with people doing weird stuff. He got kicked out of the school. He went to Atlanta because the Wild took him in. Caused trouble. Got somebody pregnant. Started selling drugs. Got busted. Got deported. And he's back home. The other guy, Ali Kaba, Ali turned his back around. Ali, I think he's like a doctor or something like that now. Something like that. But talent, he had it, James. He had it. So when he went back, you know what people said when they saw him? You fool. What are you doing back here? What are you doing back here? All because character. And he used to tell me. James Lee used to tell me, let me tell you this, my wife don't know this. He used to tell me,